This session is being recorded and it will be disseminated. Amen. Let us pray. Mighty and loving God, we come into your presence. We gather in this assembly to learn, to exchange, to have conversations, to be honest about where we are in our ministry walk, and to assist each other. And so, God, we pray your blessings even upon this event. May you be present with us through the conversations. May you manifest yourself as we exchange in dialogue with each other. And may we give you glory even in this exchange. So, God, we acknowledge the many faith traditions that have gathered here today. We acknowledge every one of them, and even those who may not have a faith tradition, but they believe in the goodwill of humankind. And so, God, I call on the name of the one that calls me. And so I close this prayer in the name of Jesus. Together we all say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Very quickly, I want to move forward because we want to tackle the information that is before us, and I want to give you plenty of time to have dialogue. As a part of my role at CTS, I am the primary administrator of a $150,000 grant that was provided to us recently by the Henry Luce Foundation. And we've been charged with supporting faith leaders primarily on the south side of Chicago as they respond to issues with respect to COVID-19. A combination of listening sessions, technology assistance grants, and of course, support workshops and pastoral care, we are administrating this grant. Today's session is the result of our grant funding that stems from the Luce Foundation. And right now we want to take this time to show appreciation and thanks to the members of the Luce Foundation. Perhaps some of my cohort members are on the call or they will be joining shortly. So we welcome you and we thank you for your support. Today's session will be a conversation. And I want to encourage everybody to be open. There are no dumb questions. We're going to be sensitive and we're going to be open. And the goal is to help you to become more comfortable so that you can serve your constituents. We will start with 3 perspectives in congregational leadership. We'll start with a perspective from a small congregation. Then we'll look at a mid-sized congregation. And then we will also look at a larger congregation. And we have 3 wonderful facilitators that are ministers of the gospel, individuals that I respect, individuals that love people and they love the Lord. And they will give you their perspectives on doing virtual ministry. We'll move through that phase as quickly as possible so that we can open up the floor for you to provide or to provide feedback and to ask questions about how to do virtual ministry. I want to start off by sharing that I, in addition to serving at CTS, I pastor a small congregation. I'm going through my 2nd year there. I inherited this congregation as I was supporting a friend who had been struck with cancer. And we did not realize at the time how serious it was, but about 5 months into assisting her as a pastor and covering her pulpit, she passed away. And so I began working with this small congregation that's called the North Shore Faith Community Church. And later they asked me to become their senior pastor. And I have some of my members that are present here. I think I saw my minister of music and our trustee, and they are present with us today. But we decided as a congregation in March to move to virtual services. And of course, we're a small congregation. We were accustomed to being together, but obviously you all know, even before the restrictions occurred, we were very sensitive to the members of our congregation. We decided to go virtual. And so we started using the Zoom platform. Obviously, you all are familiar with the platform because you're using it right now. That fits our needs because in general, we have maybe at a maximum about 30 members that participate on any given Sunday. And members of my congregation have expressed interest in continuing to do so because they appreciate the intimacy and they enjoy seeing each other. In fact, after services, we probably congregate for 30 minutes after every single service, just talking and having exchanges via Zoom. I want to share a couple of perspectives in terms of how we developed the Zoom platform and how we administrate, and then I'm going to go on to our next speaker, who will be Reverend Jasmin Taylor. But there are three basic goals that we have and 3 pointers that I would like to share with you in terms of doing Zoom services. Number one, always remember that we're using the technology to serve God and God's people. There is a temptation to worship the technology. There's a temptation to focus so heavily upon the mode of presentation that you lose the essence of what you're attempting to do. And as my congregation agreed, we don't want to forsake the assembly. That's the important aspect of gathering together. Number two, design your liturgical practices around the congregation. Because we are distant, it's important to try to make sure that you involve your congregants as much as possible in your liturgical practices. We've maintained our musician, and our musician is still serving with us, even with the Zoom platform. And although we can't sing with that musician, we allow him to play our hymns, and we're able to go through the liturgy, still maintaining some sense of normalcy and keeping our musician staff in place. I'm blessed with a family that can sing, so we actually use tracks, and we are the choir right now for our congregation, so we sing during the Zoom service together. Number three, and this is for everyone, including myself, and this is the reason why I participated, because I'm totally not a tech person, but I want you to resist the fear of technology and feel free to take risks. If you have a loving congregation, everybody can learn and grow together, and that's something that we attempt to do. We are committed to excellence. We are more committed to love. So be patient with yourself, be open to possibilities, be open to mistakes, and move forward. And so that's my perspective from a very small congregation. We're going to move forward to Reverend Jasmin Taylor, who is the digital pastor of Trinity United Church of Christ. So receive her now.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'll be speaking from the perspective of, we do kind of what we have termed hybrid church, so to speak. So we curate a service for Sundays. So we'll go in on like a Thursday if it's a Sunday service, and our Pastor Moss will record the service, but we'll also maybe on Tuesdays have the musicians come in and sing songs. So we have a whole media team that actually puts together and curates a service for Sundays. And why I call it hybrid is then because I act as the online pastor during our services. And on Sundays, I am the person who is kind of communicating with everybody who's watching us either on Facebook Live. We'll do YouTube. I work on YouTube, Facebook, and we also do a Campus Hive page, which is a streaming service. And so I communicate with all of the people who watch us. If they say hi to me, I say hi back. When it's prayer time, we pray online. When it's offering time, I put a link up for people to do their offering. When it's time to open the doors of the church, I open the doors of the church online. So I'm really trying to make sure that even though it is a curated and it's a video service, so to speak, that there is still live interaction with our congregants and all of those people who watch us. So I really want to just say that when you post this, I think it's important to be engaged with those people who are watching online. And so mine is just making sure, like, if there's a resource that happens, say, for example, we've been talking about voting, I'm going to post a link for people to automatically go check their registration status or go register to vote. Or if there's scripture that needs to be posted, I post that. So I just kind of am that interactive person during service. I get a chance to talk to people all over the world. We've got a guy who watches with a group of about 20 people that watches us on Sundays from Perth, Australia. We got another group or a young man who came to our church, or he was watching online from New Guinea. And he watched online, and one day he came to the church from New Guinea, and I actually saw him upstairs, and I said hi to him by name. So he came to a church in Chicago, and somebody knew who he was just from watching us online. We even have another person that was watching us from Denmark, and she looked up God and gospel music and found our church online. And she came to Chicago. She got a chance to practice with our choir. She loved it so much that she brought back a group of youth from Denmark, and we hosted them in our homes. So it opens up the world when we can communicate with people and interact with them when we post online. And so mine is just really acting and engaging with people. So my model of hybrid is that. And I have a whole presentation that I'll show you all or share with you all when it's time for questions, but some of the tricks of the trade.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Taylor. And now we're going to hear perspective from Dr. Woods. Okay, and you're already ready.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Is this when I'm supposed to do the 15-minute presentation, or am I supposed to answer a question?
Go ahead and do your 15-minute presentation.
Okay, so hi, everybody. My good friend Brian sat in a different workshop that I did for a group of pastors, and he asked me to come and see if I can squeeze this entire workshop down to 15 minutes. So that's what I'm going to try to do here for a few seconds. And I think I need screen share permission, if I'm not mistaken. Here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. So did everybody see a blue screen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get all the way back to the beginning of this, because I was sitting here going through it. So this is the presentation I did before. If you don't know me, I'm the pastor of First AME Church in Gary, Indiana. I'm also the director of church growth and development for the 4th Episcopal District of the AME Church. And I'm also the CEO and founder of Woods Digital Solutions, where we do small business branding, logos, we build websites. We pretty much are church techie nerds who do church techie stuff. So my approach to this was really, that's the shameless plug for my books. I'll put that on the recording since you're recording, Brian. The challenges that we're facing is, one, we can't physically gather. Some people are not on social media. So I found out that 30% of my church does not have Facebook. So if you're relying on Facebook, you're already chopping yourself off at the knees right there. Some people are not tech challenged. We were blessed enough that we had already started training our seniors last year before COVID. So our seniors already had the church website on the homepage of their phone, et cetera, et cetera. But this fourth challenge is the one I think we have to be mindful of. And that is that loyalty. People now have more options. On Sunday morning, you're not going to get up, get in your car and drive over to another church and then go back in another service. But now it is one button away. And I have friends who watch 4 church services every Sunday morning. I even had a friend say they may not go back to their church. They may just keep giving their offering because they're enjoying the music and preaching they found online. And so because this is an issue, our approach is a holistic approach that is heavily dependent upon technology, but not totally, because the purpose of this is to engage our congregants, to keep them kind of in the net, if you will, of our church. And so I have put together these 6 ways that we communicate with our congregants. Our congregation on Sunday morning is 200 to 250 people. So that gives you a good size of what our church is. Phone calls. I have a list of about 300 and something people. I call every one of them one by one. And I try to do it every couple of weeks. It takes a long time because people will be consumed with speaking to their pastor. And they want to speak to the pastor. And they ain't spoke to you in forever. And so that's part of the process. Number 2 is text messages. We use a service that I'll talk about in a minute, but we text message people links to giving. We text message people what time the service starts. We text message reminders that Bible study starts in 5 minutes. Hit this link and come on in. You know what I mean? It's a constant engagement. And then email. This is one we didn't do well at my church, but we're working on gathering emails now. The text message has worked so well. I think this just kind of fell to the bottom of the list, but it's something that we're working on. Snail mail. Once a month, I mail a physical letter to all of my members. It's a good opportunity to update them on COVID. It's a good opportunity to remind them of links to find the various services we're offering online. And I also include a couple of church envelopes, and I also include a self-addressed stamped envelope. And according to my treasurer, it has been a 20% upswing in our giving, simply because we decided to start sending physical envelopes with self-addressed stamped envelopes included in them. Social media, I'm going to let Jasmin handle that because she's the expert, so I'm going to move past that. And then lastly, we do a broadcast, which I'll hit in a few minutes. So just some quick tips on my phone calls. I don't ask for money. I think the church I think your members know you need money. And if you ask for money, then you taint the call. You want the call to be a wellness call because this is about being in touch with our congregants. They know you need money. And if you're doing the letter and the other things, they'll learn the need for money through the other things. It's important that they see you as their shepherd, not as Zacchaeus, but as their shepherd. And so that's why this call can't be a money call. Don't make promises and not follow through. I keep a notepad because people are going to say, hey, I didn't get this. Hey, can you have this call me? Hey, I can't find this form. So I'm taking notes through these calls because there's going to be a follow-up process to just address all of the various things that I got in the phone calls. Make sure they're finding your online presence. I found the phone call was a great way to just say, hey, did you find us online yet? And about 1 out of 10 were like, no, I haven't found it or whatever. So it was a good kind of re-corral to get them back into the fold of the digital and virtual worship. Call every member if you can. And I went the wrong way here. Hold on, I'm tapping buttons. Am I talking too fast? Because I feel like I'm pressured to get this all in 15 minutes.
We hear you, Reverend.
Okay. And then I put robocalls are not a substitute for a real-time call. We do use robocalls, but you can't talk back to the robocall. And my church loves robocalls. Like they swear by them. Once a week, they get one from the pastor. But just know they really want to hear from their pastor, especially during this time when there's a lot of fear running in a lot of people's spirit right now. So the text option that we use is called Call Multiplier. And the reason I use Call Multiplier is because Call Multiplier allows an unlimited number of texts and an unlimited number of voice messages. If you're using services like Calling Post, they're billing you per message and per number of phone numbers you have in your database. So if you have 100 phone numbers and you send 5 messages, they bill you for 500 messages. With Call Multiplier, you'll pay one fee for the size of your database. So for us, I think we have 200, 250. It's about $50 a month. But when I've done like 40 days of Lent and I wanted scriptures to go out every morning, that didn't break the bank because you have unlimited text and you have unlimited voicemail. If you use Call Multiplier, just bear in mind, you do want to get people's phone numbers, their mobile phone numbers, not their home, because you want the ability to send text. The other thing I like about it is it will leave the message on their voicemail if they don't answer, which I think is a great service. And then they just added another service where when the phone call comes for the message, you can have it appear as though it's coming from your church phone number. So that way, instead of getting this odd 405 number that some of y'all have gotten and didn't answer, now when they get the message, it comes from the church phone. So if the church is in their contacts, it comes up as the church is calling you. So highly increases the likelihood that someone will take the message. A few things, I put links in parentheses. We send a lot of links in text messages, giving links, Bible study links. By putting them in parentheses, it kind of helps text message identify it as a URL. And then it also makes sure that there's no, like if you put it at the end of a sentence and then you put a period, you've just changed the link. Even though your period may have been for the sentence, it's attached to the link. So by putting links in parentheses, it makes it very clear that this is a link. And as you know, people can just tap the links in the text message and they go straight in. I'll pause here and say, this has been great for getting my seniors in the meetings. Because if you get the link in the text message, when you tap the link, it takes you all the way into the meeting. So it's kind of like one touch and you're all the way there. Now, they had to have had Zoom loaded on their phone earlier, but we're 4 months out, so we're past that now. Now they've got Zoom on there. So this sending them the link works. When we get back to regular, this is just a side tip for the pastors. When I preach elsewhere, I send the link to the Google Maps of where I'm going to be a couple hours before I preach. So that way, if they just want to happen to support their pastor, they have directions to the church. There's no question about where their pastor is going to be for that revival that night. Brevity is key. You only get so many keystrokes. Just bear that in mind when you're making text messages. Bitly. How many of you know about Bitly? I guess I can't see faces. Bitly is your friend. Some of those links get really, really long. So if you go to bit.ly, you can create a shorter link to the same URL. So instead of sending you to eventbrite.com/women in ministry are awesome 2020/Church of God in Christ/2020, I can abbreviate all that down and it'll be bit.ly/women's conference. And it'll do the exact same thing. But again, if we're using text messages, you don't want those long links because it's going to eat up all the characters in your text message. And truth be told, I cringe when I see those long links on PDFs because nobody's going to type all that in. Like, it's just unrealistic to expect somebody to type all that in and get it correct, because if you're one character off, you go off into Never Never Land. And then lastly, on Call Multiplier, you can schedule the text. And so I schedule like giving text to automatically pop on Sunday morning, 1 hour before church. Even when we were normally having gatherings, I would have the giving text message pop up at like 11:30, right about before I knew when we would hit offering in church. So it was already in their phone. If they happen to look at their phone during the offering time during church, there's a link to give like right there. You don't even have to type it off the screen. Email services, I promote MailChimp, and I'll tell you why. I try to present things that are free, and I try to present things that are cheap, because we're all struggling on budget. So I'm a low-hanging fruit technology presenter. MailChimp is very low-hanging fruit because for 2,000 people, it's free. So that covers most of us, and that's 2,000 emails. So if you have like 200 people, you can send five emails that month, and it's still free with MailChimp. It works great. They've added a lot of new features. I'm a MailChimp fan, but again, it's free. So that's the other reason why I try to put it out there. This is an email gathering client. If you have on your website, sign up for our newsletter. You should have it set so when they sign up for the newsletter on the website, it will automatically populate your list on MailChimp, and then you can MailChimp out, to your people. Letter tips: don't start with bad news. That's just a business communications 101 from my undergraduate degree. Be human and be yourself. I crack jokes in person, so I crack jokes in my letters. I use LOL. I use OMG. I'm just loose because I feel like I'm going to be myself through the letter, if that makes sense. So I know we all have 1,000 degrees in this room, but, refrain from being just totally straightforward business communications academic. Like, they know you as the pastor. So be the pastor, even in your writing. Watch the overall tone. There were a couple times I had to revise my letter because when I went back through it and read it and we were talking about COVID, I didn't want the letter to come off morbid. I wanted it to come off very enthusiastic, very faith-filled. So just be mindful of how your letter will come off when people read it. Get it proofread. I know we have doctorates. I have a doctorate. You have a doctorate. There's a doctorate in a box, a doctorate with a fox. I do not like green eggs and ham. I mean, we've all got doctorates. So that doesn't mean you should not have somebody else proofread your letter. It goes a long way. I have a wife here who's good at it. Just one other person, just to put some eyes on it, makes a big difference before that thing goes out the door. And lastly, if you ask for money in your letter, it helps to state why. State that this is what we're trying to do. If we're trying to get machines to disinfect the sanctuary, just say that. And I think it also goes a long way when you're trying to get that giving going through your letter. Social media, I'm going to let my girl handle that. I'm just going to point out the last one that says know the difference between a personal page and a business page. But Jasmin, you going to hit that? Nod your head. Okay, good. All right, because there's a big difference, and I'm tired of seeing churches as personal pages, and you're losing all the benefits of the analytical data that comes along with the business page. So you definitely want to make sure you're set up right. Just some quick numbers on social media. I'll let her handle that. Surprise, number 2 social media in the world is YouTube. Most people think Twitter, most people think Instagram. Actually, number 2 is YouTube. So your YouTube account is important. But again, I'm going to get off of this and let her go. Broadcast. All right, catch my breath. So with broadcast, there's a big question you have to ask yourself. Are you going to be live or Memorex? I have found, before I open this, your solution is going to depend on your budget. It's going to depend on the number of people you have access to. And it's going to depend on the level of technological knowledge that the people you have access to bring to the table. So there is no one solution. There's no cookie cutter solution for every church. We all have different budgets. We're all dealing with different skill sets. So just know you have to find what works for you. I'm going to share a little bit of techie stuff. And I know we got a Q&A coming up. And then, but just know there's no one fits all for this. Okay. It's a big ocean and we're all just a little boat on it, but there's no one fits all. So considerations: if you go live, you get the advantage of making people feel like you are truly there. That's what Jasmin talked about. They can interact with you. They can say, hey, they can say, pray for me. They can say, Pastor, I like your tie, blah, 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 blah. It allows for the most current information. So if somebody happens to die in your congregation on Sunday morning and you're going live, you can say that on your broadcast live Sunday because you're live. So your information is literally up to the minute because you're going live. There's no room for mistakes. Some of you have probably figured this out by now, that when you go live, you are live. And so if a keyboard unplugs or a soloist forgets the words, you know, we out there, you know, so, or as they say, we out you. So, you know, you're out there. So you got to do what you do. And it allows for real-time interaction with viewers, which we just stated. Pre-recording. Our church does pre-recording, and I'll share a little bit at the end. There's no live interactions, obviously. It's a pre-recording. We put it up. We're kind of curating, like Jasmin said, Trinity does, but there's no live interactions. Editing is an option and gives you greater control over your final product. So because we do pre-recording and full editing with Final Cut Pro, when I'm talking, I can put music up underneath me when I'm talking. I can choose what I want to play while I'm praying. I can edit off anything. I've even cut out a few of my words because I was like, ooh, don't open that door, so cut that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can really make it a polished product because you are editing. Recording time can be scheduled. And so because we're also doing pre-recording, we record all of the music for our church once a month. So one time for 4 hours, we're in the sanctuary recording 10 to 12 songs for the whole month. And then I'm recording the sermons at home. So because it's a recording, I can do it when I want. I like to get up and preach at sunrise on Thursday at 6 in the morning. I don't have to be stuck to Tuesday. As a matter of fact, it's been weird because Sunday I have nothing to do because I do it all pre-recording. So now I'm just gonna hang out on Sundays. But that's one of the advantages. Editing can be time consuming. So with live, you do a service for an hour, it's an hour and it's done. With pre-recording, you got to record an hour, but then you might need 6 hours of editing to get the music right, to get the trims right, to get the transitions right, to get it all to look the way you want it to do.
Excuse me, Dr. Woods, right there.
Yep.
What is the name of the editing program that you mentioned?
I'm coming up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. You got me. I went back. Hold on a second. I'm coming up on that. So we're gonna dive techie. What do you use to shoot your videos? Modern phones are amazing. Modern phones shoot 4K. I'm going to show you a clip of my service at the end, and you're going to be surprised to know that everything we shoot is on an iPhone. Everything we shoot is on an iPhone Pro 11, and you can't broadcast on 4K. The best you could put out is 1080, and most of you are probably putting out 720, which is more than enough for what we're doing. So if you can only put out 720, your phone is already shooting video at a higher resolution than you can put out in the first place. So your phone is really overkill for what we're trying to do. Earbuds are not awkward. I have earbuds in right now while I'm talking to you, and I'm sure I sound great because they are the best lavalier microphone you can come up with. They patch right to my phone. My phone video camera is amazing. So I just use everything with my iPhone and my earbuds. There's no wires. There's nothing hanging. You can hear me loud as day. I can hear you. And when you watch the news, CNN, whatever you watch, you'll notice a lot of those people come on with earbuds on when they pop on as guests on the TV. It's not awkward anymore. So I'm just letting you know it's 2020. It's okay to have earbuds in your head. And I'll tell you this, if you look at any of my last 18 sermons, I've had earbuds in every time I preached because, again, I'm pre-recording. Plenty of light is the key. If you're going to use your phone, they are light hogs. That is the key. If you ever see an iPhone commercial, you'll notice they're always out on the beach and they're always outside, or they're in the snow, but it's a bright snowy day. There's a reason for that. They are light hogs. So I record outside in the sunshine on my patio. That's why I preach. That's why I do whatever I'm going to do, because it gives me so much light that the video ends up coming out amazing. Landscape mode, and turn your phone sideways. You don't want to look like TikTok. So please turn your phone sideways when you record. You'd be surprised how many people have to say that too. And the 4K video setting, if you go inside your phone, just make sure it's set for 4K. If it's not, it doesn't kill you, but it is definitely the highest resolution that your phone will offer. Editing your video, to Brian's question, you need a computer. So here comes the techie speech. For a processor, you really want to get an i7 or an i9. If you have an i5, you can do it, but you're going to kind of be on the struggle bus. It's going to be moving a little bit slow. i7 is kind of the standard upgrade, and i9 is if you want a future-proof, or if you've got the money to get the i9, I would say get the i9. The RAM, 8 gig is kind of standard. 16 will get you there. 32 will be amazing. 16, you'll still be okay. You will have no problems. 8, you can still do it, but again, it's going to be kind of slow and a little bit draggy, but you'll get it done. But just know that this is kind of where you want to come in at a 16 if you're going to be editing video. If you did not know, editing video is the most demanding thing you can ask of a computer. It's more demanding than music, more demanding than watching movies, all of that. Editing video is the most demanding thing that you can ask a computer to do. So when you edit video, you're pushing your computer all the way to the limit. Hard drive is basically a terabyte is good. That should do more than enough, at least for a long time, till you get another one. You can add an external drive, whatever. So for those of you that are, all I'm looking at is pictures, but for those of you that have the deer in the headlights, let me give you my best analogy for what these three numbers mean, because these are the three big numbers you need to know anytime you buy a computer, okay? The processor is how fast can you run around the house. If you have to cook a Thanksgiving meal, the faster you can run between the deep freeze in the garage and the fridge in the basement and the pantry, the faster you can run, the more efficient you can be at creating that meal. The RAM is how big is your kitchen. If you have an itty bitty little baby kitchen, it's gonna be hard to cook the meal. You can get it done, but you're gonna have to cook it in pieces. You're gonna have to cook one side dish at a time. You follow where I'm going. The hard drive is how big is the entire house. So that's how much stuff can I get in the house. So what your computer does is when you go to open a program, it takes it out of the hard drive and moves it to the RAM while you're using it. So RAM becomes important when you're starting to run more than one program at one time, because RAM is the operating room or the kitchen, and that says how much can I have in the kitchen at the same time. I can have 8 people in the kitchen at the same time, 16 people in the kitchen at the same time, or 32 people in the kitchen at the same time. So you see the importance of the RAM and how it impacts how you perform. The processor is how fast those people move. The RAM is how many people can I get in the kitchen, and the hard drive is how many people do I have access to in the entire house. Does that make sense? I hope that helps my non-techie people. Editing video, if you're on Mac, I use iMovie. I did our whole first 2 months with iPhone, earbuds, and iMovie, and they were amazing. People were calling me, asking me how we did it. Like, it was amazing. All just free, like straight, you're carrying it in your hand probably and don't even know it. Final Cut Pro is iMovie on steroids. It is the professional version from Apple. It costs $2.99. I have a tech company, so I use Final Cut Pro, but you don't have to. You can use iMovie. You can make titles, those words that come across the bottom of the screen. You can do all of that in iMovie real easy. And there are plenty of YouTube videos on how to use iMovie and plenty of Apple videos as well. Low learning curve. And again, you have it in your phone. And let me tell you this, if you were really a little patient, you could shoot a whole service, edit it in your phone, export it out of your phone, and put it all on Facebook and do the whole thing in your phone and have amazing quality just using just your phone, just your iPhone. But it takes a little bit of tapping in. Avid Media Composer is another one. They require a monthly subscription. And then Adobe Premiere Pro, if you're using the Adobe Creative Suite and your church is already paying a monthly fee for a Creative Suite, you already have Adobe Premiere Pro. You may not have downloaded it yet, but it is part of the 40-something pieces of software that come holistically in the Creative Suite. So if you already have that Creative Suite, you can get that. That Creative Suite includes Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Audition, and on and on and on. So otherwise, you can buy it as a standalone. It's like 20, 30 bucks. I threw it up there because it's very popular among video producers. So it's up to you how much you want to spend. On PC, you have DaVinci Resolve 16, which is free. Some people use it. It's very popular. Again, I'm trying to give you low-hanging fruit. So this is a free way that you can edit your videos. Corel Video Suite Ultimate. I hear good things. I don't have Corel, but for 80 bucks, if you're a Corel person, going back to like Corel Draw back in the 90s and the whole Corel suite, if that's your place that you feel comfortable, it is available. Adobe Premiere. The good thing about Adobe Premiere is it does work on Mac and PC. So for some people, that's important. I'm an all Mac guy. So, you know, I'd stick with Final Cut Pro. But if you're bouncing between two worlds, like you got a MacBook you carry, but you got a PC on your desk, that gives a lot more flexibility to move between the two computer platforms. Pre-recording, I didn't do the demonstration. Going live. So if you go live, the basic way is a phone and a computer, like D-Nice, right? Just pop up your phone and hit go and you're on the go. If you're computer streaming, this is a little bit techie, but you need two things to get into your computer. You need the audio to get in your computer, and you need the video to get in your computer. An HDMI cable carries both the audio and the video in one cable. But if by chance you're trying to do something a little next level, they become separate. And so I'm going to kind of show you the chain. The audio and video goes into your computer. Then it goes through the streaming software, through your Wi-Fi, and out to the world. So to get the video and audio signal in, you got video, you need a webcam or a DSLR camera, a video camcorder, and I put video interface in a question mark. So right now, if you're using a webcam, it is designed so that it does not need an interface. You probably plugged it in via USB into your computer, and then that video signal just pops straight in. But if you do anything like a DSLR, a camcorder, or something more elaborate, you can't plug that straight into your computer. You will need a video interface that takes that signal and translates it for your computer. So when you see the large broadcast cameras and sanctuaries and whatnot, they're running through an interface in order to get that into their computer system. So just bear in mind that a video camcorder or a DSLR will give you a much better quality picture. It'll look more professional and whatnot, but you'll need that video interface at the same time. For the audio, you can either do a direct microphone. So again, I'm talking to you through these earbuds or whatever. But let's say you're doing this in your sanctuary and you want everything in the sanctuary to come out through your broadcast. You could patch your mix board because everything's already coming into your mix board now. The difference is it comes out of your mix board to your speakers. You want it to come out of your mix board into your computer. So that would be why you would need an audio interface. So you would literally not have to change anything in your sanctuary. You could unplug the two plugs that go to the amp and the speaker and plug those same two plugs into your audio interface in your computer. And now all the sound in your sanctuary is coming into your computer. You can monitor it with headphones or whatever. So that's a good way to not have to buy microphones and such, because you've already got the microphones. You've already got your keyboard plugged in. Everything plugged in your sanctuary would stay exactly the same, other than you would need that interface to bridge that sound into your computer. And I guess there's a Q&A, so I'm gonna be quiet here in 2 seconds. So low-hanging fruit. StreamYard is low-hanging fruit. There are a lot of things you can't customize that I don't like about StreamYard, but for ease and simplicity and jumping on, it still looks great. It's amazing, it's free, and you can jump on the learning curve, I would say less than an hour. Like, it's really super simple. I had a pastor call me, I walked him through the whole thing in 1 hour on a Zoom call. Like, it's that simple. The other one is OBS. I just threw it up here because you've probably heard of it. OBS is gonna be high learning curve. Like, it's gonna be high, but OBS is super customizable. I can put all of you in triangle boxes. I can make stars fly across the screen. I could do what I want. If you're familiar with Twitch or video game streaming, they all use OBS because of the high level of customization that it allows you to gain. But again, it's overkill for most of our churches unless you're really going to take the time to really have some assets designed, because you'll need a graphic designer to do like PNGs, overlays, frames, because you're building from scratch if you go to OBS. You follow where I'm going with that? So that's it. I think that's it. I was going to give you one last example here. Can you guys see a website?
Yes.
You see Google? You see Google? Okay. So I'll give you this. Can you hear that? This, from here on, we have a custom opening. This is all shot on iPhone. Now the catch is, we didn't even use an external microphone. Like, that was all iPhone. physical space, just that digital space of laughing, seeing each other has been so fulfilling and so exciting in this time. But I want you to know that we are working hard behind the scenes, and you'll be getting more information as we go forward to prepare us for a possible re-entry. We do not have a So that's it. I guess I could say while I got you here, the website for me and for anybody I talk to, this is the hub that you want to send people to. I don't send them directly to YouTube and Facebook. I want them to go here because they may see other stuff on their way to YouTube and Facebook. So as you can see, this is the Zoom link for our Sunday school. This is the lesson materials for Sunday school, and they are in a public Google folder. So if I click this button here, there's the material for Sunday school. And my people have access to that PDF because this folder has been made public, and then we put the folder link onto the website. So what you want to train your people to do is just go to the website. You don't want to try to train them to go 1,000 different places. And that's why I said in my senior training, I made it so that the seniors could put the website on their home button on their phone, and told them, if you can just get to the website, you've got church service here, you've got Sunday school here, and you've got Bible study right here, all at your disposal. And I put an extra button called past episodes. And if you click that, you go to the full list of all of our episodes that you may have missed going backwards. So again, for me, the website is key. And that's not just because I build websites for a living, but it's the key because as a pastor, this becomes the hub of everything that you do here on the website. If you didn't notice in the beginning, we just added this week because people are going to come here. So now I have a pop-up and there's no way to get around it. So I was able to slash a message in front of their face immediately. You go to our pop-up, and then I have all the information about how our church is handling COVID, my message, our campaign that we're raising funds for COVID, what the church is doing, but see, all of this is again on the website, including a link to the CDC if you want to know what the CDC is saying. So for me, it's all about training people to go to one place. And if they can get to the one place, they can get everything they need, donations. And guess what? You can even go here and all of you can buy your own First AME shirt and support my ministry. So I'm done. Thank you. I'll look forward to the question and answers, but that was a lot, and I just tried to squeeze it down as fast as I could. So there you go. And thank you for inviting me, Brian.
Thank you so much. You have so much to offer, and prayerfully we can continue these conversations. We're making very good time here. I hope that you're being blessed. And now we're going to swing back. Reverend Jasmin, are you? Let's see. Oh, I'm okay.
I'm here.
About a question.
Reverend, could you allow us to go through one other presentation, and then we're going to take an hour for questions and answers, if that's okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's go. Reverend Taylor has a presentation as well, and then after her presentation, we'll have a full hour of Q&A. Okay. So go ahead, Reverend Taylor.
You set me up for screen share?
You should be able to.
All right.
Let's see. Yeah.
All right. So Virgil covered some of the things, but I'm going to go really quickly just to kind of give you all some stuff since I do a lot of the church's social media. So I'll start with just when you do social media, create a few goals as to why you're doing it. Are you doing this particular post because you want to promote your church? You want to promote an event for your church, or what is it that you're trying to do when you get on social media? Are you trying to promote Sunday services? So think about what your goals are, and if your goals align with what you're doing is it aligning with what you want to do for your church? And we have a big document at our church. It's called the SMOS. It's the Social Media and Online Marketing Strategy. So thinking about what you want to do with your strategy. Is it that this week I want to focus on revival, or what is your strategy for the church overall for the year? Do you have a theme for the church? and set up a team. I've got a group of people now that I work with. I've got a young lady who is a retired marketer who actually helps me. And I had to make sure to vet her because you don't want just anybody posting stuff for you or your organization. But set up a team. I've got some young people from the church who help. They want to help do Instagram. I say making sure your people know how to spell is important, making sure they know how to edit and proofread. I use, and I'll go further into it, but I use Hootsuite. A lot of people don't like Hootsuite, but I use Hootsuite. And I'll have some links to all of the different things that I use and tips and tricks later. And with Hootsuite, I'm creating a calendar, setting a schedule that I know on Tuesdays, I'm setting up posts for this. Know your audience, know who you're posting to, and use the right platform. So I want to talk about social media demographics, and really people are really on, like people for our church are really on Facebook. And I went to a social sprout and it says, after 15 years of operation, the Facebook still is the #1. So it'll show here on this little graph how many people go to Facebook several times a day, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and Twitter. We use all of them at the church, but we, sometimes focus on different stuff on different sites. And that particular link at the bottom will give you all of the different demographics for Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and Twitter. And Virgil said that YouTube was, I think you said YouTube was first, Virgil. I don't know whether you said YouTube was first. I got that Facebook was first on my stuff and then YouTube is second, but I don't really know. Yeah. Both of them work really well.
I said YouTube was second. I said okay. Facebook, then YouTube, then WhatsApp.
Yeah. So they Social Sprout has said said the opposite, but either way, both of those two are really important. And I think one of the things that I've learned about it is don't try to be everywhere all the time. Like you don't have to be on all of these social sites. I would say get good at one of them first, because if you try to do all of them at one time, you're going to feel spread thin. You're going to feel like it's too much. Respond as much as you post. So whenever people post stuff to us, we don't just set it and forget it. When they post, we try to respond. We try to say hello or thank you, or we try to say something in response to them. Communicating through stories. I saw a church who does a really good job of telling stories, and their stories are about different people that work with them right now and kind of what they're doing as far as their staffs and staff members, telling stories about them as well. We have a few staff members at my church that will highlight them and tell a story about them. So trying to use stories a lot. I didn't put this here, but people really love pictures and short videos, pictures and videos and fun stuff they like, and post as regularly as you can. And don't hide from controversy. We've had a lot of people who might post negative stuff, but it's very interesting that even if they post negative stuff, people who support us actually go in and fight our battles for us. So you don't even have to fight a battle. You just let somebody post something and let people fight that battle for you. And so Virgil, I added this one about personal profiles versus business pages. Your personal profile is really meant to keep up with your friends and family on a daily basis. It's kind of a place where you share personal stuff. Whereas the business page is really more about marketing and branding your business. And like Virgil said already, it's the place where I can go get analytics and see how many people my posts reached. I can see how many people interacted with my posts. I can see how many people watched my video. So the business page will give you, like I said, a little bit more detail. And then the business page, you'll get a chance to do campaigns and marketing, and you can spend money. We really don't spend a lot of money, but you can spend money on Facebook ads to promote it. You can target your audience on the Facebook page. So say you wanted to target for this event women who are between the ages of 25 and 45 who live in Chicago. The business page will give you and allow you to specifically go to demographics that you want to market to people. And so here I put Facebook is second to YouTube, but I thought about it. People really actually nowadays, like you said, Virgil, they are on Sunday mornings going to 5 different services at a time. I'll leave my church and I'll go watch another person's church. So people are really doing faith formation in a way. It's like on demand, and it's like YouTube, because people will now not necessarily even watch on Sundays. They'll watch on a Wednesday when they're off work, or they'll watch on a different day. But also, if you have people who people go to YouTube to figure out how to fix a car or how to work on their Cricut machine or whatever they'll do. But people also will go to YouTube to search on specific things. Like if they want a sermon on relationships, sexuality, whatever it is, they'll actually go and specifically search out the thing that they're looking for to help support them. And so here I've got a few tips and tricks, or a few places that I use. In addition to Bitly, which Bitly is my favorite, I do use tinyurl.com. In order to, like, if you say you have your church bulletin or documents, you can use freepdfhosting.com. It'll create a URL for a PDF document that you can then share easily. Bitly.com is actually my favorite. I do use that all the time because it'll help me to not only shorten a link, but it'll also as well help me kind of index it. So I'll be like, oh my gosh, I need the bulletin from June 2001. Can I go back and look at that bulletin? Or it'll help me, oh, we got a tennis event. I can always go search that. For offering, I put it in Bitly. For all of those things, I put it in Bitly, so I know where to go get them very quickly. So it not only helps me to shorten it, but it also helps me to index it. And then another one is that I use, because I really started this one because of Instagram, but it's called Linktree. And I can put all of my links in one place. And so, for example, if I post something on Instagram, Instagram doesn't let you immediately click from a link in your description. So if I put click link in bio to watch us live, or click link in bio to register to vote, Linktree lets all of those links be in one place. As well, you talked about some of these, I think. Well, we use Hootsuite at our church, and the lower prices on Hootsuite. Hootsuite lets you do, it's a social media scheduler, so I can sit at my computer on Monday and I can tell it to do everything I want it to do for the week or the month through Hootsuite. As well, I don't use this one, but I looked it up and I found one called Loomly.com and one called Buffer.com. And I will use If This Then That, IFTTT.com. So that'll let you create a certain kind of recipe. For example, I know CTS posts, I might say if CTS posts a picture, go ahead and repost that on my page. Or if this, then that. It's really a formula. So you can go in and put that you want to post this on Twitter if such and such, or if you can even do a lot of other stuff with if this, then that. It's really techy. Like you can tell it to turn on my lights when I walk in the house, or you can tell it to operate your air conditioner and do it at this degree. So if this, then that is pretty interesting. And then for collaborating and sharing, I use Google Drive a whole bunch. For example, we wanted to update the church's information. We wanted to get their email addresses, their phone numbers. We use Google Drive for Bible study documents. We use it for attendance during Bible study on Wednesday nights. We'll create an attendance link through Google Drive, and then everybody is signing their attendance during service, and they want to make sure that their attendance gets counted. Microsoft Teams is fairly new. I haven't worked with it a lot, but Microsoft Teams will let you do meetings like this through video chat. They'll let you collaborate on files. It'll let you get together in private meetings. It'll let you get together in larger meetings, I believe. Basecamp.com is a really good one that we use as well. That one is like a project management thing. So, example, you would have 10 different people in this project, and you can assign different people stuff and have different due dates for it. And then it'll do a follow-up with them to say, you have your devotion due on this day. So Basecamp.com. Monday.com as well works just like Basecamp as far as project management. And then for those people who want to do graphics that look professional, but you don't have a graphic designer, we use something called, we don't use it at the church, but I use it called Canva.com. I use WordSwag. Say you have a picture of yourself and you have a quote that you want to add to your picture, WordSwag. And then if you ever gotten a picture and it's got a background on it, but you don't want the background, but you just want the picture of the person, I use remove.bg and it'll take that background off for you. And then if you want to create a free website or a landing page for an event for your church, Wix.com or Squarespace.com. You can build it for free, but if you want to add on different stuff or take away their ads, you do have to pay a minimal cost. And then if you wanted to purchase a domain name like JasminTaylor.com, you can do GoDaddy.com. Then Constant Contact is what we use as a church, because we send it out to about 15,000 people at a time when we send ours out. But he also mentioned MailChimp, which is a free service for a smaller amount. And that is my presentation. I hope I did it quickly, and thank you. And I hope I didn't move too fast.
Outstanding, Reverend. Thank you so much. And so now we're going to move forward. We have plenty of time for Q&A. And I'm going to start, let's give a few ground rules. If at all possible, please place your questions in the Zoom group chat. That will enable us to recognize and get questions answered as they come along. We do recognize that sometimes there are other questions that may come up as a result of an immediate comment, but we ask you to try to limit those and try to use the group chat. We also invite you to use a feature that will enable, it's called reactions. It's on the bottom right side. And if you could just click to raise your hand, and we'll try to monitor that and acknowledge you. And we'll move the conversation along as best possible. And I'll continue to facilitate along with Marie Whitney. But we're going to start with a question from Reverend Dr. Carmen Fredericks James. And this is with respect to technology. She says, we are currently having some challenges with a consistent sound quality when streaming. Could it be that we need an audio interface? If so, what would you recommend?
May I clarify?
Who am I talking to? Am I
This is
talking to a
Reverend
gray
Carmen.
box? Oh, there you go.
By
Hey,
the way,
Dr.
if I
Carmen.
look anything like anyone else on this call, I'm related to one other person on here. We were born on the same day, 2 minutes apart. So, so since Reverend Ozzie is on the call as well, I think I just wanted to clarify, because a conversation we've been having consistently each week as we meet as a team, we are currently kind of using, as an overall church, we do both a combination of a live service on Sunday. So we then record the live service on Sunday and rebroadcast at 11 a.m. So we don't record two different services. We record one service and rebroadcast at the 11 a.m. service. That's for the whole church. I administrate, or I'm sorry, I guess I'm the interactive person on Sundays when we are interacting with our Facebook Live conversation. So I'm the interaction person typing. And on a regular basis, we will hear someone say something about the sound quality. And our techs, you know, have been working diligently. Sometimes it may be related to the mic that the speaker is using, or the choir is using one set of mics. And during the live services, we have about 5, like a praise team, socially distant praise team. And so that's my question. Those are the specifics though to ask. And
So you're broadcasting live from the sanctuary?
yes.
And then you have the computer hooked up to the mix board where all this stuff goes into that mix board.
I believe so. I'll confirm with my tech guy, Reverend Ozzie. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So the next step then is that they have to have some audio interface. There's no way they could get that sound in there.
Okay. So,
yeah. And most of the audio interfaces actually have a headphone jack on them so that they can monitor the sound in the interface before, like in between the two.
okay.
To kind
So,
of
but in
tweak it.
between, you would have to make some adjustments in between. So like if the person,
Yeah.
the people in the sanctuary, so that's normal is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we
And
already,
if I had to troubleshoot it, I would do it just straight without going live and put the headphones on. And if you start hearing the trouble, then you know it's not in your going live, it's in the front end, it's in the microphones, it's in the mix board. You know, I would go piece by piece to troubleshoot it and start backwards, kind of detaching the back end until I worked up front. Yeah, I hope that helps.
yeah, I wish our tech guy was on there. I think the question was answered last night. I think it's just a matter also of timing. Sometimes when you're doing live, that it may take a minute to adjust the sound, whereas if it's recorded, then the sound can be adjusted.
Yeah. And then don't underestimate how a shady Wi-Fi connection can jog anything. Video, audio. I mean, we've all been on video phone chats, and the lips look like the old kung fu movies, and the lips were moving and the words didn't match, you know, like, so just another thought. Yeah, those would be the place I'd start if I was trying to find it.
Okay, and then one other question and then I'll be done. So I serve in that capacity mostly, but I'm also working with our youth. I'm the youth pastor. And so I work with our youth using Zoom on a regular basis, but we're thinking of using some pre-recorded experiences that we can put into YouTube for the young people to go and consume at times that is, I guess, most available to them. Do you have any particular other strategies that you've seen helpful for working with youth in particular?
No, everybody seems to be doing Zoom. I guess Google, and I just was told this from the young man yesterday, they use the Google Rooms now, and you can go into the various rooms. Jasmin might know more about that, but I guess they've been using them for kind of breakout sessions. And I believe my conversation with Jasmin, she was talking about her Sunday school using that same format to get everybody into the various rooms. Yeah.
So we do also use Teams for our Sunday school. That's a whole nother conversation. So we use Teams for Sunday school, Zoom for weekly Bible studies with the various age, and for weekly choir check-ins, we use Zoom. And then,
they can make a Snapchat group. They probably won't invite you, but you know, all the young people are on Snapchat, so they'll make a Snapchat group and go at it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been very helpful.
Yeah. Jasmin, what did you say you used for Sunday school? I just want to hear it again. You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
So actually, we just use our regular live stream, and then we add in we do the Google Classrooms. I'm sorry, we do Google Classrooms, but we don't do it during the actual class. We do the live stream, and everybody interacts during the live stream on either our webpage or YouTube or Facebook. But then after class, we have class facilitators, so to speak, and they take the conversation on after class in Google Classrooms. And I'll post the video of the class so that people, if they missed it, they rewatch it in Google Classrooms. And I post the worksheets in Google Classroom so that way people, after we watch it as a big group, can get together in smaller groups. It's about 200.
So how are you offering the links to the various rooms?
So we send people classroom codes so that they can join a class, and each class is 250 people. So we'll say you can click here to join a class. And so they just get put in a class based on the Google Classroom code.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go.
So then that brings up another question.
I've seen.
So in your experience, would you say that for larger group sizes, would a Zoom where you can break into subsessions be more effective, or a Google Classroom where you can break into smaller sessions would be more effective?
I honestly like the Google Zooms when I've been able to like go into a Zoom with a smaller group. I have not had an opportunity to do it yet, but I'm going to be doing it with a group that I have been a participant, but I haven't been one to set it up yet. But I do like it where it'll send 5 people into a classroom and we have a conversation video like this. So I like Zoom for that.
Okay, because you mixed words, Google and Zoom. So Zoom breaking into smaller groups may be more effective than Google Classroom, separate groups of registering for like 250 people.
I think so, because Google Classroom is not a video platform, and I like the video portion of it.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
So there's a couple of questions in here in the chat.
Yeah, I was about to Dr. Woods, what was the first graphic program that you used for your video? That was a question from Craig.
So I use Final Cut Pro, but I used iMovie for the longest because it was free. And then I didn't feel like I was going to have to dust off my Final Cut Pro skills until I realized COVID wasn't going nowhere. So then I said, well, let me go on and get the robust software that does it. You know, I was just kind of getting by in the beginning and doing great. But once I realized it's going to be long term, I kind of jumped up a notch. And then just so you know, the introduction to our video, my goal was for our video to come off like a TV show, which means a standard introduction, a standard theme song, etc. I designed that in Final Cut Pro, but I used what's called Digital Juice. It's a subscription website. So that's where all those dynamic graphics came from. So it's a little higher end. I didn't expect anybody to really, you know, but that was just a one-time shot because now I use that same intro every week. But in the beginning, it took me probably 3 days to create just that intro, like just that intro. But I knew it was important because it's the opening to our show. So just so you know, that was high end at the beginning. But once I clicked past that to the singers, everything from then on, and I could have kept going and showing you, like, they're called lower thirds, where words come across the bottom of the screen, the scripture comes across the bottom of the screen. All of that is in iMovie, and it's all free. It's all in iMovie.
Right. So you said that the name of the program was Digital Juice?
It's a website, digitaljuice.com.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, because I noticed that I saw the transitions you were using iMovie, because I use iMovie and I also use other digital editing programs, but I liked what was going on in your intro. So that's what I was really concerned about. All right.
Digital Juice will let you buy templates, but the catch is because you're buying someone else's work, you have to be very versed in the software, because some of their work you're going to have to kind of undo and unpack and tweak to make it, you know, it's not like a template where you just hand it a picture and it makes it look cute. Like I had to change the colors because I wanted it to be the church colors. So you have to know how to go in and dig deep to do that stuff.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, but Digital Juice, bro, go check them out. They're the bomb, and they got
Right.
Photoshop files. They got way more than just, and it's all templates. You can get matching packs. So like if you do a whole conference, you can get like 8 different video templates that all match.
Oh wow, great.
In a packet. Yeah, it's the bomb.
We're
I don't even remember what
we're
and I paid a one-time fee 2 years ago. So forgive me, it may have been $199 or something like that. But yeah, I paid a one-time fee.
Because we're looking to do an intro like that for Maple Park United Methodist.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So,
I encourage everyone to do that.
Thank you.
okay, let me move on to John Thompson. Reverend Taylor, you spoke of tracking attendance. Is there a way that I can use Google Forms to gather data and then export those contacts to MailChimp or Call Multiplier or Text in Church?
Well, I can say that I use it. I can use it too. It's pretty much like you can download it into an Excel worksheet, which then you can upload. And that's what I use in Constant Contact. I don't use MailChimp or Call Multiplier, but I'm sure you probably could do the same thing. What do you say about that, Virgil?
Same stuff. Basically, you're just importing spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can gather the data wherever. As long as you can get it in a CSV or a spreadsheet, you can take it wherever.
And it allows you to do that straight from Google Forms. It'll say, send it to a worksheet or spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may have to take it may send it to a Google sheet, and then you may have to save it as an Excel or a CSV, maybe. Yeah.
So now, Dr. Woods, this is something you speak about extensively, and this is coming from Reverend Daryl Person. So I want you to take some time to talk about the work you've done with seniors in addition to answering this question. And the question is, what call-in options are available for tech-challenged seniors?
Okay, so first, I want you to know I have 93 might be the oldest person in my Zoom, 93. We got them all on Zoom. And I'll start by saying it takes energy. Like you can't be lazy pastor on this one. There's just no way around it. There were a few that didn't get on board, and I had to sit one-on-one on the phone for an hour, getting them to walk through the Google Play Store, setting up Zoom. They forgot their email password, it took some work. The approach that we did last year before this happened was we had senior mobile phone training, and I had the Android people in one room with my son, and I had the Apple people in the other room. The goal of this was not just to show them how to move around, but there's a button inside of either, whether you're using Android or Apple, there's a save to home screen button. And so by getting them to the church website and then save to home screen, now they just have a button on their phone. So, I mean, all of you guys that want to spend $1,000 on apps, God bless you, but you don't need an app. All you got to do is do save to home screen. And now you have a button that looks just like an app and they go right to the web page. So that's been the saving grace. And that's why I said earlier that it's all about the website for me, because if I get you there, I can get you everything. But that training was a lot. It was, as far as fruit, it was very fruitful to our church. And then again, just being willing to follow up one-on-one. Once they get Zoom on their phone, as you guys know, because you have it on your phone, you don't really open Zoom again. Zoom kind of automatically jumps in when you call for it by hitting a Zoom link or by hitting something else. So that's where my text message service comes in. I text message you and say, Bible study starts in 30 minutes. Here's the link. All they got to do is tap that text message and they're in Bible study. It was just, there was some initial work of getting the Zoom onto their phone. That's where the heavy conversation took place. But once it's on there, and I'll tell you this, don't be surprised. A lot of your seniors have smartphones. Like you literally have to ask for a flip phone specifically when you walk in order to get one. They've got, I ask them, what kind of phone do you have? And they always just go Samsung. Like they don't know S9, S10, Note 9, Note 10. They just know they got a Samsung, but they're very capable phones. I was very surprised. A lot of iPhones. A lot of my grandmothers had iPhones and just didn't know how to use them till somebody kind of worked through it with them. The challenge, I'll tell you, is this. You can't seem to get them on FaceTime or any video chat to help them. So it is a little difficult because you're doing it all audio over the phone. And then my last line, if I just can't get them, is, do you have a grandchild that lives near you? Or do you have, and I've said that, and believe it or not, it's woken a few people up like, yeah, you know what? My niece does come over here. I'm going to get her to do it, Rev. And then a week later, I see them in Bible study. So it must have worked. So it's just a lot of patience and a lot of time. I'll say this and shut up. I've been frustrated at hearing pastors give up on seniors. I really have been, because it's not fair. We're trying to be inclusive. And it really speaks more to your lack of patience as a pastor than it does their inability to get on. I'm finding they have the ability to get on. The question is, do you have the patience to bring them on board? That's the real question.
And I'll add that I as well have had patience, and we teach the class, are you smarter than your cell phone? I'll sit with people for hours, but we still have, and I guess maybe it's because we're a larger congregation and patience, we still have people who can't get on. So we use freeconferencecall.com, and we allow people to dial in to just listen to worship service. And let me just tell you that has really connected some of our people who, even though they can, some people just refuse to go that route. They won't. So we use freeconferencecall.com.
So Dr. Frederick James, I'm assuming your question is in line with the current conversation. Could you go ahead before we go to the next question?
I saw an opportunity that I wanted to express, and I heard Dr. Virgil mention how he used his son to help him host that workshop. And then I also heard Minister Jasmin, sister, mentioned that they have a class that they host regularly. Are you smarter than your cell phone? One experience that I want to maybe offer to maybe us, so that we don't get frustrated with seniors, is hosting some type of intergenerational experience in which the young people, maybe you use Zoom or maybe you use the teleconference, they can call in, but they can break into smaller groups, and the younger people can help the elders and something like that. It'll be a little more challenging because we're trying to figure out how to do it virtually. Or maybe there can be a way that you connect a senior with a young person in your congregation, and they call each other once a month to check so that the senior can ask questions about technology or something like that. So I just think it's an opportunity, and I was glad to hear Dr. Woods mention just not the use, but the blending or the acknowledgement that much of this can be intergenerational as well. So.
Absolutely.
Yes. And something I've discovered, even with my small congregation, I'm able to call every single household every single week. And so we're able to have in-depth conversations, and I'm able to talk to all of them. And so sometimes I'll get questions about the sermon. There'll be issues related to what's happening in their own lives. And so you can use those one-on-one opportunities. In fact, even with Dr. Woods, we would have some issues with my cell phone. And he was able to work with me in order to get some things straightened out in terms of being able to get online. So that one-on-one, if you have that option, is invaluable to be able to directly connect with them. And it's a form of watch care, to be able to know what is happening with your members. And again, I know that this is a little more challenging for larger congregations, but some of you have smaller groups. And I would strongly recommend you try to set up a schedule to reach out to each and every one of your members, especially seniors, because right now what I'm hearing from other ministers is that a lot of their senior members are afraid. They don't want to go out. They miss the connections with the outside world, and the church is their primary connection in many cases. So we can use this as an opportunity to connect and, of course, to help people to use the technology. I hope that that's helpful, Reverend Person. And we're going to move on and go to the next question from Dr. Crowder. He says, I'm going live via Facebook, but I am also using a conference call line as well. I'm using my iPhone. Do you suggest earbuds to help with the quality of sound for the conference call?
Mm-hmm.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Winston Simmons. Our service Our service is currently one camera via Facebook Live. We haven't tried this before, but we're considering doing Facebook Live service through Zoom so that we can invite additional participants. I'm assuming this requires that all participants have excellent quality video, audio, and some technical skills, and a curator. Can you please talk a bit about what might be involved in a Facebook Live service via Zoom?
Go, Jasmine.
I was going to say go Brian, because Brian actually does the Zoom service.
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. We have not. I sort of do a double. I do Facebook Live with a cell phone, and then we do Zoom with our internal congregation. And yes, sometimes internet access to good internet is sometimes a challenge. One of the things you can do, and of course, this may be a challenge for smaller households, but you can get accelerators to help boost your internet service. But we have not combined the two. That is something that we should look into, because we actually do Facebook Live in concert with Zoom. But I have seen it done. I don't know exactly how that is done with both Zoom. I'm assuming, Mr. Simmons or Reverend Simmons, you're asking about combining Zoom and broadcasting Zoom via Facebook Live, correct?
Exactly. I've seen it done. I've looked at several recordings of other broadcasts, and it seems to allow for several different participants. You can have the pastor at home along with the music person in another location, and then someone else. So we're trying to see if we can improve or add to our worship service by doing that. Right now, it's just one camera via Facebook Live.
Reverend Thompson.
Can't you? I'm sorry.
I may be able to add what seems like what it's trying to do. You're trying to broadcast on several different platforms at the same time. That would be Restream. You can do your OBS, and with Restream allows you to broadcast on 30 different networks at one time. You can do your YouTube, you can do Facebook Live, you can do Instagram all at one time.
Well, what we're really trying to do is do a live broadcast incorporating several participants. That's really what we're trying to do.
Can't you do Zoom?
So go ahead. Let me say this. The other consideration is Zoom webinar. And the difference between Zoom regular and Zoom webinar, Zoom regular is you all sitting around a table like a board meeting. Zoom webinar is you all sitting in an audience and there's a stage. The advantage of Zoom webinar is you can bring people up and you can make people go sit down. So if you have 50 people in the room and you're in webinar, I can bring Carmen up to do the scripture and then sit her down. I can bring Jasmine up to do the prayer and then sit her down. I can bring Ozzy up to read the scripture and then sit him down. Now the problem becomes those out in the audience, they can only interact through the chat. They won't be speaking to each other because they'll be observers. So if you're trying to broadcast in that sense, where you're bringing people up and down, you may want to consider webinar. If you want people to be able to talk with each other and interact with each other, then again, the regular Zoom, which is what we're in now, is more like a roundtable discussion. So I don't know if that helps, but.
And can webinar be live via Facebook?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
Dr. Frederick James, you're muted. Oh.
I think Virgil actually responded to what I was going to say, but I also know that there's a way that you can do that, because we have a panel discussion coming up this Thursday on Facebook Live, and we use our Teams platform to do that as well. So the Microsoft Teams platform. I don't know how our tech team does that, but you can show more than one person and move them around and stuff like that.
That's Microsoft Themes, you said.
Teams. I know there's a cost involved.
Oh, Teams. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's just the Windows base. I don't know the full cost or anything like that, but I just know that it can be done a little bit with Teams. I think Zoom has probably a better potential. It may be a little more flexible in how you do that, just on my observation of Teams.
Now, I'll tell you this. I like the StreamYard approach for Facebook specifically, Because with StreamYard, it's the same thing. You can put people up, you can put people down, and you can have up to 10 people up at the same time. And then when it's streaming through Facebook, everybody that's watching on Facebook, when they comment on Facebook, you see their comments in StreamYard. And you can actually hit a button and their comments come up on the screen while you're streaming, and it has their face. So their profile pic, it's the Facebook look, and it has the comment there, and that's all. And you moderate what comments come on the screen. So you don't have to pop everybody's comment on the screen. But if somebody has some question or whatever, you can pop that up. And I really think StreamYard probably works best almost for what you're saying. And of course, since it's live on Facebook, you're inviting the world to come and observe. And of course, if you do it to your church page, your church members would automatically be notified. They could come on board. And again, if they post comments, you'll see every comment while you're sitting there. I've been able to have my show on Sundays, my panel show, and moderate and be on the panel simultaneously on StreamYard because it's that easy. Like, I'm sitting there on the panel, but I'm seeing the comments. The ones I like, I just click them and they pop up on the screen.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yep.
Here's another question related to Zoom. Has anyone tried the closed caption feature on Zoom? Is this a subscription only service? Closed caption feature on Zoom.
I've used it on Facebook, but not Zoom.
No.
I haven't seen one on Zoom.
Yeah. So nobody has used the, no, Dr. Jervis? No? Okay. So nobody is aware of the closed caption feature. I know with our congregation, we're planning to do a whole Zoom training session together to learn all of the various capabilities, since that's our primary medium. But no, I'm not aware of the closed caption function.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I experienced it in a meeting. Okay, great. Okay, and you were very pleased, Marion, with that feature? Yes, this session is being recorded, Pastor Trudy. Okay, awesome. Do we have any other questions, comments, reflections?
Very helpful. Reverend Brian, very helpful. I'm glad Reverend Carmen is there because I'm the most tech challenged person at the church because I'm the dinosaur. So I just let them tell me what's going on.
I just wanted to ask, I wanted to ask if anyone has any additional experience with Teams. We started Teams, we had just purchased Teams just before the pandemic. And because no one really fully knew how to use that and had a little more experience with Zoom, we kind of jumped to using Zoom for some of the other platforms. But now we're also trying to see if Teams, I guess, discern if one platform is more effective than the other in the various ways. So we've only used Teams for like weekly team meetings. And it's just a meeting, but I haven't used it in the versatile ways of playing games. With Zoom, I've played games. I've, shared the screen and played Heads Up with kids and played Jeopardy with kids and things like that. But anyone know if there's the same versatility in Teams that I just haven't had the chance to explore?
No. I don't have an answer to.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay. I was just going to say that the staff at CTS is kind of in the same boat. We just got it before, we all left, and we're just starting to use it now this week. So we'll find out. It's supposed to have many of the same features, but I don't know yet.
I guess I'm asking because one of the reasons we're having this training is trying to discern how to use the grants, the mini grants that we've received. And so if we already have Teams and it's an effective platform, then I don't want to invest in an upgraded Zoom account. Or should I use the money to invest in an upgraded Zoom account? And then, just let Teams, that the money that we use as a church already stay into,
right.
In Teams. If so just asking. I guess we're all figuring it out. So.
Yes.
Can I interject something just right here? I think may be appropriate. So there's a lot of software out there. And remember, you guys, there's no cookie cutter approach to any church or organization. for example, I was looking at Jasmin's list of Basecamp and Monday, and I had flashbacks because for my design company, we've been looking for the right project management software. We landed on Trello, but I had used Basecamp. I had used Monday. I had used Asada. I had used Slack. Like, I can name all the project management softwares we went through trying to land on the right one. It's experiment. Some of it you can't know till you go. I'll say two things. One, take advantage of free trial periods. Anymore now, it used to be we give you half the product, and if you buy it, we give you the rest. Now it's more, we'll give you the full product for 7 days or 10 days or 14 days, which I love because you can dig deep if you take advantage of that free trial. So don't be scared to take the free trial. Sidebar, make sure you cancel the free trial so something doesn't automatically hit you when it's over. The second thing is use YouTube. I use YouTube for everything. And if you have any questions about any software, just put it in YouTube and then put in the word tutorial. So if it's Adobe Premiere, put in Adobe Premiere tutorial. Put in Basecamp tutorial. The word tutorial is going to trigger all the 101 beginner videos. And sometimes I've just sat for an hour and just watched people set it up just to see, is this worth it? Or I'll be sitting eating dinner and just watch 20 minutes. My wife hates it, but I'll watch 20 minutes on some piece of project management software just to see. And then also you can put in, if you're currently using something, put it in YouTube and then put in the word tips and tricks. So if you put in like StreamYard tips and tricks, Adobe tips and tricks, you'll get these websites that'll be like 10 cool things everybody should know. I've discovered a lot of gems in them. This is why YouTube is the #2 social media platform right here. But again, you can do a little homework to save yourself some time. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to jump right in and kind of try it on your own.
I think Craig, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I have a question. Does anyone know the quality of Zoom? Does it change when you buy a higher subscription? Does the quality of the broadcast and the audio change if you go up in the higher parts of the subscription? Because I know they have the free one, then you have the next tier, and as the tiers go up, does the quality go up? Does anyone know this?
Dr. Jervis?
I don't.
Dr. Jervis, go ahead.
Sure. I work with a number of clients that have it, and I personally have one for my business. The quality appears to be the same. So we've not seen any differentiation between it, audio or video.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking on the website now. The biggest difference is number of participants and cloud recording, and then some other techie stuff. So yeah, they have no indicator here. It's better. And just a sidebar, Zoom is for talking. Like, I'm a DJ, if you guys didn't know. So like, I'm all into music, and I follow a bunch of DJs on Instagram. And one DJ was on Instagram and Zoom at the same time. And so I jumped out of his Instagram into his Zoom. It's like listening to an AM radio. It's very thin. Wow. It's very thin. It's because it's made for voice. And DJ Dr. Brian Smith, the house music champion, will tell you that Zoom is not for music. It's just not.
No.
But that's how they can provide the service. Yeah, and that's how they provide the service for cheap. It's low bandwidth. It's very thin. So just know that when you're using Zoom.
So is that why when some of my participants are listening, they tell me that the music is going up and down?
Yes.
It could be.
There's a challenge with Zoom. We've had to work very hard at trying to get our sound quality matched. Is my musician still online? Brother Armour, is he still online? We've had to work very hard
to jump off.
Okay, we've used a variety of interfaces because he plays live every Sunday. And what we found is that if you use an Apple interface, it sounds better because he actually uses a piano. And I wish he could tell you exactly how he positions it, but we had to work for several weeks to upgrade that sound. And I concur with Dr. Woods that it is challenging. Another conversation that we haven't had that I thought would come up is the usage of licensed material for media. This is a huge issue. Of course, as Dr. Woods noted, we're both DJs and we tried to play music on Facebook Live. And Facebook has become very vigilant about dealing with copyright issues. So that if you play copyrighted music, they have systems in place to be able to select you and turn you off of the program. So just be aware of that. They're very vigilant now. And now I can't do it anymore. And I know some of my colleagues have been using music for their services if they don't have a choir or if they don't have a musician. I'm just wondering if anybody has had any experiences, and Dr. Woods, you can talk about this.
I have.
Go ahead, Dr. Smith.
I have. We did a Facebook Live concert about 3-4 weeks ago, and we played a tune by Yolanda Adams. In the midst of it all, I had to have my lawyer to reach out to her producer to get permission. We had to pay $350 to do that tune, and I called the other person to get permission, and the rest of the material came off of a project I did that belonged to me. So yeah, you're right. They and then Facebook still wouldn't put us on the first time, but the first playing of the concert, but they did. I understand we were on the next night, that Saturday night or something. But yeah,
so, you have to pay directly for licensing.
Yeah, I paid $350.
So I don't know if you guys are following like Versus on Instagram, like Jill Scott versus Erykah Badu. Their algorithms are so strong, they have flagged artists for their own music. So Erykah Badu is playing her own music and gets flagged. I mean, like, you know, literally, because keep in mind, it's computerized and it's automated. There are no human beings back there. And if you've ever used an app called Shazam that recognizes songs for you, it's the same software. The same software you use for Shazam to find a song, they just run it across your video and it flags and triggers. I'll tell you two things you need to know. One, there are websites with royalty-free music. So again, I have the benefit of having a company. I already have one of those subscriptions. So like when you hear little jazz music behind me in my broadcast and I'm just talking and the music's kind of there, that's all just royalty-free. So that's how I don't get flagged. The opening music on my intro you heard, that was off of a royalty-free. You're not gonna find Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, and Yolanda Adams on royalty-free. You're gonna find instrumental tracks, corporate tracks, but it can help fill in some spaces. You're legally supposed to have a license for everything but your sermon. But most of us don't do that. I broadcast my choir and praise team, but technically you're supposed to have a license for that. But you won't get flagged because you tend to be doing it live. Now, out of 18 episodes, I got flagged one time for Order My Steps. And I don't know if my singer sounded exactly like the original artist or if my pianist sounded exactly like the original pianist, but something flagged it. Like it blew my mind, something flagged it. Because out of 100 songs, we've never been flagged and that one got popped for some reason. And again, with YouTube, there's a soft and there's a hard flag. We got a soft flag, which means you just get this little yellow warning, but nothing happens. It means you can't monetize your broadcast, which we're not doing anyway. Then there are hard flags, which put a muted spot in your video. And then there's a harder one that takes it down. And then there's a harder one that says you've done this too many times. Our lawyer will be in touch with you. But I've never gone that far, but I'm just saying royalty-free music is your best friend. I haven't found an issue with recording praise teams and choirs just live, even though technically you're not supposed to do that, but I haven't found a copyright flag hitting for that yet.
And I will say this. I will say this. When we paid the $350, the producer still wanted to know who I was with the money.
And let me warn you, there's another stage that Dr. Woods didn't tell you about for repeat offenders. You will totally lose your Facebook Live access.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. You're right.
So I confess that I've learned that they will completely pull you off. So you have to be very careful not to violate those copyright rules.
You didn't tell him about 7 times 7, Brian?
So is that the same for YouTube and Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do a recorded video, I do some Monday meditations for the families as well. I record that and they're available on our YouTube. That is, you shouldn't have any music playing in your background that is not royalty free.
Exactly, for the most part. And just so you know, it's so sensitive. Facebook was getting called on it because people were doing like birthday parties in their backyard and it would flag the background music. Yeah. Or they're in the club, doing their thing and it would flag the background music. So it ain't just playing music out front, it's having it available. Now, how soft and how loud, you might could get a fine line in there, but just know that. I will say this too, Brian, if I can, and I'm not recognizing that, I'm not suggesting you should do this, but I think I've seen some people get away with it. they have inserted YouTube videos of other churches, choirs, and praise team doing songs. So it's not the recording, so it doesn't get flagged. It's somebody else doing the song. You would like to think that we would all be on God's team and nobody would mind that, but unfortunately, that's probably not the truth. So I would say talk to that pastor at church if you do that, but that's one workaround that I have seen on a few broadcasts.
Dr. Wilson, Dr. Jeanette Wilson, do you have a comment?
Yeah, we heard that a church received a grant to provide iPads or tablets for seniors. Have you heard of anything like that?
No, not to my knowledge. I know obviously of what I'm doing, but no, I haven't heard that from others. But you can be sure that if I do hear about it, I will disseminate that information to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, because several members of our church on this call, and so some of the questions that have been asked come from Maple Park, and I think one of the things that we have to look at, Brian, is training the leadership at the church and all of our churches, large or small, so that as we move into this technology, you're more than one person deep.
Yes.
And you have different strengths like you have at the seminary. And
yes.
So we need to look at a group call so we can drag our brother from your team from place to place to do this online training for other churches, because this is just, I think, was powerful.
Well, we certainly have means. I've discussed this with both Reverend Taylor and Dr. Woods, the possibility of a follow-up session. So I have enough resources to do another one at least. And part of the reason why I wanted them to be on this call, and I don't know if we have loose people here, but I wanted loose to see who they are. And for those of you who are participating with me in the loose cohort, you have received resources. And I believe there may be more opportunities in the future, which is why we wanted to open this up and record it so that people can see the need and we can continue to utilize their services, because they've been awesome. And let me reiterate, both of them are committed ministers of the gospel. They're both very kind people, and they do this as a ministry, which is why they were invited to do a presentation. There are lots of people that have technology knowledge, but the two of them are pastors first. And so let me just take this time to say thank you to both of you for utilizing your gifts, for what you do each and every day, for being of service and being so kind and open. Thank you, Reverend Taylor and Reverend Dr. Woods. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Reverend Smith, I have a question.
Go ahead, Reverend Burke.
First of all, first I'll start with a comment that this has been awesome, very informative, and enlightening. But on the next level, it's been very overwhelming. And so my question is, when looking to hire a third party to run your media, what should we look for? What are things we should look for in that company, price-wise, service-wise, and what are things we should avoid?
I'm going to say, if I may, just make sure they still have a current high school ID. And Jasmin is over there nodding her head, because I am so serious. I am so serious. I'll tell you what I did. Quick story. I stood up when I first got to this church 6 years ago. I stood up, said, stand up if you're on a Facebook account. Everybody stood up. I said, sit down if you get on Facebook, once this. I got down to 4 people, and it got down to 2 people. And I said, now, between you last 2 people, if I send a message on Facebook right now, will you see it right now? And one girl raised her hand. I said, you're on Facebook too much, and you're my social media manager. And she goes on, and she posts for me, and learning Hootsuite is easy. Like, I just found the young people in my church and corral them around it. And here's the funny thing. These young people have this thing where participating is not cool. I don't know where they get this from, but they always want to stand on the sideline and act like that's for everybody else. I'm too cool. This gave them a way to say they were involved in the church without being an usher, without being a dancer, and without singing. One of my church mottos is no unemployed Christians. So if you come to my church, I say you no unemployed Christians. Everybody gets a job at my church. And I ask you, hey, you got a job? So this allowed them to say yes when I asked them if they got a job now. So that was the other reason they jumped on it, because they weren't going to usher, they weren't going to sing. So I'm going to give you something that's in your wheelhouse. So, I mean, I know there are professionals and businesses. Dude, I'm really strongly going to encourage you to just dig in your backyard for just a few more seconds before you really third party that thing. And they're gonna take it more to heart. You're not going to be a client. You're going to be their pastor, and this is going to be their church home. So I would like to think that that might even impact the quality of work that they provide for you. Just my 2 cents.
We call it our social media ministry. Exactly.
And you can let the first students be you. You know, like you need to learn something. You know, I need to learn how to do this. Can you teach me? And it's an opportunity again for you guys to be intergenerational, and the pastor is not this a peer person. The pastor is somebody that I can relate to. So it gives the opportunity to build relationship, which is key for, especially in this time, to maintain some level of relationship.
So I did take a couple notes while you were talking, if I can throw these out there, just tidbits that come to mind while everybody's kind of doing their thing. One was leverage your members. On social media, I found out I had 1,000 people watching and nobody sharing. So remember, there are more of them than you. So I just wanted to throw that reminder out there. Like every once in a while, you got to tell your people to share. Like they may not do it automatically. Jasmine's nodding her head, so I'm glad she's echoing what I'm saying. But once I kind of got to push them, like this is part of being online, because they're just so glad to be there and see it. They're satisfied right there. They don't understand their role is now to share it, push it, you know. They don't see that as their job. So that's one thing. The other thing was, and again, just a quick note, add an admin to your social media. God forbid if Jesus calls you home soon and nobody can get into your church Facebook. This is the other reason why you need a business page and not a personal page. A personal page, you can add a person that says, if I die, this person can control my page. But in the business page, you can add 5 different admins who all have equal access in case something happens to one of you. I have a church in North Carolina. They want us to build a website for them. And the problem is the last officer got mad and nobody has access. And now they're fighting and it's like they're stonewalling the access. So again, on your social media, just make sure you add a number of admins on there, 3 or 4 people, so that, you know, more than one of you has access. Just tidbits that came to mind while we were talking.
And I'll add a tidbit as well. Since we're a larger church, what we've done is our ministries have their own Facebook groups, not a Facebook page, but a Facebook group. So our Sanctuary Choir has a group on Facebook, or our media team has a group, media ministry has a group. And so that way each group still gets together. They have a meeting that way, or they talk to each other kind of personally in their own Facebook group. So Facebook groups work really well.
And then I just want to share an experience that encompasses what Virgil, Dr. Woods just stated. So our pastor added us this week, myself and one other person, as editors to the business Facebook page. That one, again, gives it, more than one person has access to that, but the editing allows us to post some things differently or pin some comments that we weren't able to pin, which is a whole nother thing. But so that's one thing that I agree with Dr. Woods. But in addition, the idea of encouraging those who are watching to share is really important. We had, and this past Sunday with the storms, all of us who were administrating, there were about 4 of us, you know, posting and making comments. And the technology went down for me. And I was able to share with the other person, hey, can you post here because the technology went down, my computer, the electricity went out, my power surge happened. And then additionally, something happened at the church. And so we were able to post, please reshare this because we lost connection to the original stream. So please reshare this link now since we lost the original one. So it's, I think, important to mention what Virgil mentioned, that there is at least a team of people that are kind of helping you to manage that social media platforms, and not just one person as an administrator, especially if you're trying to do live worship service as well.
Yes, and Dr. Carmen, you brought up something very key. When you go to add the person, it'll ask you for their role. And so she just stated that she was added as an editor, which means she can probably post posts and comments and whatnot. Then there's the highest role is the admin. That is the ability to change passwords. You need at least one other person at admin level, but you can add multiple people below that and not fear losing control of your page. They cannot kick people out. They cannot change the password. So just in case anybody was kind of scared to let somebody in, there's a control there. So you can let them in low level where they can still participate. But then when they lose their mind at the official board meeting and you kick them out the church, you ain't got to worry about no repercussions. Y'all don't do that, do y'all? Y'all don't. I was just testing y'all, see if you're awake. You don't have to worry about repercussions.
Outstanding. I just want to include a couple of comments. Dr. Wilson, did you have another comment? Your hand was raised, or did we address your concern?
You addressed me.
Okay, outstanding. Just a goodbye from Winston Simmons. He had to leave. Pastor J.L. Smith says, cybersecurity is a real issue, and as we rush to embrace Zoom and these social media platforms, realize they are not without risk to our congregations. For this reason, I raised my question. And let me say, Pastor Smith, I had a long conversation with Reverend Taylor. I prayed before this conference because I said, Lord, please don't let anything strange happen. And, we're blessed that we were able to make it through. But yes, there are risks with people entering into your cyberspace and doing crude and racist things. And so there are features I know with Zoom, but they were so, the features with Zoom, with the waiting room, were difficult for us to maintain because with the waiting room, sometimes people are left out and it's difficult to administrate during a service. But yes, that's always a concern, and that's something we should be mindful of as we use any of these platforms. I'm gonna go ahead and move us forward unless you have other comments or questions in closing. I have a few announcements, particularly for those who are part of the Loose program. Please know that we're going to try to maintain these types of talks. I think they're relevant. We've been having a good time doing the listening sessions and exchanging with each other. And I want to make you aware that we're going to try to convene at least once each month on pertinent issues that impact the church, sort of functioning as an institute for congregational leaders. So first, we're going to be contacting you regarding pastoral care for youth. We have a portion of our grant that is designed to help you with group counseling and individual counseling, and we want you to take advantage of that. So you'll be receiving an email from Dr. Greer and Dr. Armstrong this week. I encourage you all to participate in that. We are going to have a convening and a conversation around opening churches in the age of COVID-19. And Dr. Jeanette Wilson, as well as another attorney that's a part of our consortium, will be doing a presentation for you. There are liability issues, there are legal issues, and there are things that you have to consider in terms of reopening your spaces. Of course, I know you're not rushed to do so, but we're going to have a special conference on the legal issues that you face when you eventually consider reopening your church buildings. So look forward to that announcement. That will occur towards the end of August. And if you have other suggestions about areas of interest that you'd like us to focus on, please let us know, because we have access to a wide variety of professionals and individuals that love the church. Let's see. I'll read this final comment. For anyone who is overwhelmed, just take baby steps. Try one thing. Ask for help, especially among the young folks. And we have agreement from Dr. Carmen Frederick James. God bless you all. I hope that this has been fruitful to you. And again, it's my pleasure to serve you. Most of you have my contact information. If you have additional questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do the best that I can to assist you. Dr. Smith, are you on still? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Could you just close us out with a closing blessing, please?
Yeah, let us pray. God of grace and glory and of our ancestors on whose shoulders we stand, and God of all people everywhere, we thank you for this time we've spent together. We thank you for its fruitfulness. even though some of us are overwhelmed even now, we thank you for the information. May we take this time to take this back and let these thoughts simmer in our questions. And we thank you for the resources that have been provided and that are still available. We thank you for the minds that are already dealing with technology. We thank you for the challenged minds like my own as we go into this, but we always have resources. And as you did, as the people of Israel had in the wilderness, they already had whatever they needed that had been given to them by the Egyptians. We ask, oh God, right now that you would bless whatever has been deposited in our minds, that it may be shared in our various settings. Dismiss us from here now, and thank you for raising us to a higher plane than we have found. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I'll make this recording available to you as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
Bless y'all.
Thank you.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Thank you.